Hi everyone, my name is Alia. Welcome to my booktube channel. In this video, I will be doing my first ever book review on this channel, and I will be doing a unspoiler review for the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And then I will also be doing a review on the Iliad by Homer. This is the E.V. Rieu translations published by the Penguins Classics. So this story, the Song of Achilles, is written from the first-person point of view of the protagonist, Patroclus. Patroclus was born a prince, but he grew up isolated by his parent, his father, the king, and the society because he did not quite fit into the stereotype of masculinity. And then he had a dispute with his father, the king, and he was exiled to Phthia. When he was exiled to Phthia, Patroclus met Achilles. Achilles is the son of King Peleus, who is a great mortal in his time, and his mom, Thetis, is a sea goddess. So when Achilles was born, he was destined for great things. So they intrigued each other and Achilles befriended him. From then onwards, Patroclus became Achilles' companion. And as the story progresses, from best friends, they became lovers. Then the Trojan War happened when Helen of Sparta was kidnapped and brought to Troy, and Achilles was asked to fight in the war. If it's not yet obvious, this book is a retelling of the Greek mythology surrounding the Trojan War. But on this book per se, I like it a lot. It's one of the most wholesome book that I have ever read. I think that it is very well written, a great writing style by the author. It is pleasantly descriptive and not overbearing with the details. When I first started the book, I admit that I was a little bit prejudiced because of the hype surrounding it. And then as far as the pacing goes, at the start, it was actually very flat. Suddenly, the momentum just builds and I just couldn't put it down. Initially, I did think that the plot was pretty plain and basic, but after finishing the book, I appreciate that it did not try to be more than what it is. This book is definitely one of the best retelling that I've read. It is now in my super favorite list. I've read it like at least 25 times. When I read it for the first time, I read it 10 times consecutively. I love how Patroclus loves Achilles, and I love how devoted Achilles is to Patroclus. This book is written in English. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being elementary and 5 being high proficiency, this book uses what I think is medium advanced English, between 3 and a 3.2. I would totally, absolutely, and definitely recommend this book to everyone. It deserves all the hype that it got, and I love it. Totally recommend 100%. I rate this book 4.6 out of 5. 4.6 is actually a very high rate for me, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I've read it 25 times. So that is the end of the unspoiler review of the Song of Achilles. If you have not read it, please get a copy and read it. In this later part of the video, I will be doing a review on the Iliad. I really enjoyed this translation by Rieu. Let's talk about what the Iliad is about. So the Iliad is an epic poem by Homer about the Greeks going to war against the Trojan, hence the name, the Trojan War. So the Greeks went to war against the Trojan to reclaim Helen, who is the wife of a Greek warrior, Menelaus, who was kidnapped and brought to Troy by the Prince of Troy, Paris. So the Trojan War lasted about 10 years. What really drives the Iliad for me, in my opinion, is Achilles' conflict against Agamemnon. So Agamemnon, who is Menelaus' brother, is the older general and the commander of the Greek army in the Trojan War, and Achilles is the young and super talented warrior who fought alongside the Greeks. During the war, Agamemnon lost Achilles as one of his warriors because he insulted and humiliated Achilles in front of his peers. When that happens, Achilles decided to withdraw and set out of the war. Achilles was so bitter and angry with Agamemnon, he started to wish death upon his comrades after sitting out of the war. So when Achilles withdrew from fighting with the Greeks, everything became a bloodbath and the Greeks was starting to lose. In the Song of Achilles, we know that Patroclus interfered and then he wore Achilles' armor and he fought as Achilles in the battlefield. And Patroclus died in the hands of Hector, and then Achilles was so angry that he finally rejoined the war and killed Hector. And then there was also his brutal treatment on Hector's body because he was so angry at Hector for taking away Patroclus. So now let's talk about the backstory. How did Menelaus lose his wife to Paris? How did Paris came to kidnap Helen and brought her to Troy? The backstory is a story about the apple of discord. The apple of discord, if you're familiar with it as an idiom, means the core of an argument or a small matter which leads to a bigger dispute. And I think, in my opinion, that this is where the idiom apple of discord came from. So the T is Peleus and Thetis had a wedding. Peleus is this great mortal and Thetis is a goddess, and they got together and they got married and they had this big wedding party and they invited everyone except for Ares. Ares is the god of discord. Discord literally means disagreement, so they did not invite Ares, the goddess of discord, to their wedding party. So because Ares was not invited to the wedding party, she decides to take an apple and she inscribes a Greek word on it, which means the fairest or the most beautiful, and she tosses this apple in the middle of the wedding party. So Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite found the apple, and these three instantly thought that the apple was for them. They started arguing about it until one of them said, "Hey, look, here's a human. Why not we let him settle this dilemma for us on who is the fairest or the most beautiful among us?" And that human happens to be Paris. And these three, Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite, they offered to bribe Paris. And Aphrodite, you can imagine the audacity offered Paris the most beautiful woman in the world, which is Helen, who is also the wife of Menelaus. And so Paris made the judgment, the famous judgment of Paris, and he looked at all three of them and he said, "You are all beautiful. Hera, you have offered me great power. Athena, you have offered me infinite wisdom. However, Aphrodite has offered me the most beautiful woman in the world, and I am going to make her the winner of this apple. In return, I am going to claim my prize, which is the most beautiful woman in the world." So at that point, Paris thinks that Helen is his, so he took Helen from the party and brought her back with him to Troy, and that was how the Trojan War started. So I also want to talk about Hector of Troy. Hector was a prince of Troy. He was the son of King Priam, and he was the brother of Paris. He was also the greatest warrior in Troy, and he led the Trojans against the Greek in the Trojan War. So in the Song of Achilles, I was so angry with Hector after he killed Patroclus. In his last fight, when he asked Achilles to return his body to his family after Achilles killed him, I was like, you are not in any position to ask for any kind of mercy after what you did to Patroclus. But after I read the Iliad, I felt so sorry for Hector. Firstly, he did not agree to go to the Trojan War. He asked Paris so many times to return Helen to the Greeks, but every time he asks, Paris refuses to return Helen. And towards the end of the war, Hector and his wife Andromache had an infant son. Andromache did not want Hector to return to the battlefield, and Hector was very reluctant to join the fight, but he felt responsible for his people. And as the responsible person he wanted to be there for them, and he wanted to fight alongside them. And Paris was useless the entire war he started. He actually ran back to his palace when he saw Menelaus came for him on the battlefield. And there was a time when he was actually facing Menelaus in a duel, and he was losing. Aphrodite interfered and rescued him and brought him back to his room and ordered Helen to have sex with him. So do I like the Iliad? The answer is yes, definitely. I thoroughly enjoyed E.V. Rieu's translation of the epic poem. I am also looking forward to read the other translations by Robert Fagles and Richard Lattimore. So on the language scale from 1 to 5, I think that this book is a 3.2. I think that the words used in the translations are pretty common. That said, I personally do not think that this book is suitable for light reading. It's one of those books that you pick up and digest with a purpose. I would definitely recommend the Iliad to anyone who is into Greek mythology, absolutely. I rate this translation of the Iliad by E.V. Rieu, published by the Penguins Classics, of 4.2 out of 5 stars. If you have read the Song of Achilles or the Iliad, any of the translations, or you have read both the Song of Achilles and any translation of the Iliad, I would love to know your opinion. Please leave them down in the comment section. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, and if you would like to see more of my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.